Okay, and I think, are we live?
We are live.
We are
Good
live.
evening.
Good evening, and welcome to Broadsheet on the Telly. My name is John Preposterous Ryan. You're very welcome, Broadsheet readers, commenters, and even the trolls. We have a lot of guests coming up tonight, but at the moment we just have Vanessa with us. We're going to get a call from Catherine Corliss, the historian, just to talk about the Tuam mother and baby homes, an update on that. Olga is currently shifting in town, but she'll be with us within hopefully the hour. Neil is up in Drogheda at an improv festival, and he's going to contact us from there. Johnny Keenan is at a funeral of a gentleman, cannabis activist in Drogheda and Dublin today. There was a funeral. The funeral was the gentleman's name anyway. Johnny will be coming live from there, from Drogheda, and we'll also have Kenny Lynch, who's in Roscommon, who had cannabis oil seized from him. He's got brain cancer, and the cannabis oil relieves the symptoms from his illness. But revenue seized is the oil. We spoke briefly about it last week, but we're going to hopefully talk to him tonight. But first, Vanessa, I wanted to talk to you about the cervical check scandal, and whether we've just had a very uncomfortable conversation. I don't know whether you wanted to share, divulge the details of the chat.
Well, I'm potentially one of the 1,500 that are being audited now. So I suppose, but I'm one of loads of women my age, you know, that get their smears done through cervical check. So I suppose it's hard to hear that they get missed, and you think you're in the all clear, and then you go back, because when you're high risk, which I was, it's every 6 months, and then when you go over a certain age, it stops, and you're just called every 3 years or every 5 years. So you have that gap. So it's I'm actually not worried. Because I'll wait till I'm told I've bad news before I start to worry about things. I wait till for the bad news. I don't worry about stuff that I'm not sure about yet. So we'll wait and see.
How did they contact you?
Oh, well, they write to you for your appointments, and then they contacted me by phone 3 days ago, and I just got a text message this evening to say somebody else was getting back to me. Yeah. So it's a wait and see. And obviously I'm going to get more smears done. So.
And the test you got done, that's it's questionable. What
it was a few years ago, because I've crossed over from the high risk bracket now.
Right.
Well, I suppose there's two high risks. When you have abnormal smear tests and you're checked out, and in my case, I did have cells, and they were removed, and they reappeared again, and they were removed a second time. Then after a year or so, I was all clear, and then I had my daughter, who's now a teenager, and then for a couple of years, my gynae, who was my gynae when I was having her, took my smears. So I was satisfied everything was being done in the lab in that hospital. And then after that, I just moved over to cervical check to carry out the standard smears. But because I was high risk, I was getting them every 6 months or a year. I can't remember. But, you know, girls get these letters in and say, oh, yeah. And by the time they make the appointment and they get there, you know, it could be a bit longer than that. And so I was at that rate until I was 45. And then it stopped because I was out of the high risk bracket then. Right. And so now it's just that last one.
When did you have your daughter?
2004.
Okay. So I'm trying to do the maths, but
so yeah, no, the lads now are checking my age now.
no.
But when I had the cells removed in Hollis Street at the time, it was 20 years ago, over 20. It was 20 years ago. So I think if something was brewing away, it would have cropped up when I was getting them earlier. At the same time, I feel fine, folks. I'm not feeling any. I don't feel anything different, or I don't feel I'm ill.
But because you were in the high risk category during that period, it's just it would be a surprise if you weren't on that list. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, no, I expected it anyway. I did expect it. So, but anyone that is viewing this, my attitude to all this is that I don't worry about anything until it's actually presented to me. I'm not looking for anything to worry about.
Yeah.
So don't worry about me. The one thing I suppose that I'm taking from the events of the last week is that on these type of medical negligence cases is the non-disclosure and the confidentiality. I actually think we need to have a discussion about that as a society, because it's something the public need to know when this happens, and it should not be sealed, or that's like saying there's water contaminated but don't tell anybody. Like it's I think that's the one thing I'm extracting that we should really have a deeper talk about is non-disclosures and confidentiality agreements when there's this form of negligence. We could then, of course, segue into the whole behaviour at the HSC and them discussing on who tells who and who does what. I suppose the fact that none of them could make a decision on who tells what, and they were leaving it up to the consultants to do it, which in my experience in the health service as an accountant, it's no surprise they leave everything to the consultants to decide, because the consultants assume they should make all the decisions anyway.
Were you surprised, Vanessa, when you heard that, like, your smear tests were going to labs in New Jersey?
Well, I need to be careful here, John, because I was working in the Coombe at the time, prior to this, when this went out to tender. And so I'm not saying I was party to one of the tenders, but I was familiar with it. So, in respect to my previous employers, I knew they were going out.
So the Coombe made a bid for that.
Well, not the hospital themselves, but the lab in the hospital. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, and they came in at a lower bid. Is that right? I mean, I know.
Well, it's actually. I'm not party to the. I suppose anecdotally, I'd be party to why they made the decision and who got the gig and stuff like that. And then there would be sort of confidential information that I'd learn at exec meetings and consultants meetings. But so I'd rather, if that's not meant to be rude, everybody, no, I don't talk out of shop.
Not at all. But, no, just to say
there's a lot of other things go into making these decisions, John. Turnaround time, the facilities, do they have the capacity to do so many a day and turn them around? So there is a lot of other things go into deciding. Well, I would hope it's not. I don't think it would be entirely a finance decision. And one thing I learned from my time in the public services, especially as an accountant in the public services, not everything is a financial decision. You have to make decisions that are totally non-financial.
Okay.
Despite the impact.
I gather, though, that it was the most competitive price anyway, and that they went for the American.
Well, you see, I can't comment on that, because I only know what I know. The people that decided the bid could only comment on that, John.
It's fine. It was stated on a few days ago anyway. But
yes, but here's the thing, John. Not everything is a financial decision.
I know. I appreciate that. No. Just moving away from that. I mean, if the Vicky feeling case hadn't happened, would you have been informed?
No.
No. So
well, other than getting my 5 year now, I think I get them.
Right.
On my call up for that, I wouldn't have been told. No.
Okay.
And you're only told, Guy. You're only told if there's bad news. You're not told if it's unless you're dealing with your own GP. You know. So.
And your GP was not aware of this at all. Any of these machinations over.
Well, they haven't been in touch. So.
Okay. What's your view of the GP's role in this? Like they knocked it back to the HSE, but the GP.
I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised. You know, it's.
How could the GP see his patient and not divulge that information?
Well, the GP may not have been told. It's like, say the GP, and it could be any GP you go to get the smear done, and they send it off, and then it comes back, and if there's anything in it, they will contact the lady then, and if there's nothing in it, there's nothing to report. So you're not told. You just assume it's all clear. If you have a good relationship with the GP who took it, if they are your GP and your family GP, well, they probably, or you could ring yourself and find out, you know, so you'd find out that way. But if there is any activity at all in the smear, I mean, you're automatically referred.
Hey, Johnny.
John, how are you keeping? Hi, Vanessa.
Not too bad. Johnny, can you just turn off your mic? We're just having a quick chat here.
Beg your pardon. Sorry, yeah.
Not at all. Not at all. Thanks so much. Johnny Keenan is up in Drogheda. We'll come to Johnny in a second. Sorry, Vanessa.
I don't know where I was. Where was I?
In all the excitement of Johnny's arrival, I sort of forgot. What I did want to press you on, or just move away from the labs and the whatnot. What do you do next, Vanessa? What?
Well, I'll wait to speak to. What did they say? They said they were ringing me. Sorry, viewers. I can read the text out. I'll wait for them to contact me. You know, I'm not going to look for trouble. I mean, if it's there, it's there. NCSS. I will receive a call as soon as possible over the coming days. So,
okay,
that's where I am now.
I'm terribly sorry. Very, very sorry, Vanessa.
Sure, don't be. Fine.
Genuinely, I mean, you just told me at 9:50, so it's genuinely shocking. The whole couple of weeks has been pretty shocking, and you anticipated this for yourself. Do you have any friends who are in similar situation this evening?
No, nobody said anything to me yet, but I haven't really been out and about this week. So,
are the people you can talk to? I mean, are there? God, I mean, there's 1,500 women have received those letters.
I think there's 1,500 of us in there, but that would have got smears at that time, at the same time. That are the high risk. It's about, I think. I don't want to be held over these numbers now, but I think there's 1,500 of us that were high risk during that period of time, and we got all clear, so they're bringing us back.
Okay.
As far as I know, viewers, I'm not going to worry about anything till there's something to worry about.
Okay, yeah, and if there's any questions that I've missed to ask you, sort of medical questions or whatever, maybe somebody in the mosh pit could ask. Did you see the HSE management or cervical management team at the Health Committee on Thursday?
All the lads, they sent all the lads in.
Yeah, did you see them?
That's pretty much my experience in healthcare. all the lads.
Were you? Did you watch any of it?
No.
Okay. And have you heard any of the interviews that Tony O'Brien has given over the last few days?
I heard snippets of them, but it's very, very typical what you'd expect from senior public servants, you know. And they learn from each other, and they learn from heads in the NHS, and, you know, they all mix, and they know. It's a very closed community at that level. Like, if one vacancy comes up, they're all on the phone. Who's leaving? Who's coming? Who's going for it? Who do you think will go for it? You know, I'm not going to name the person, but people who are in senior health services will know. I mean, I know a former nurse who's a CEO of a hospital, and it's her third or fourth hospital in 5 years.
Say that again?
As a former nurse who's a CEO now of a hospital. I'm not going to name the hospital, but it's their fourth post in about 5 or 6, 7 years. You know, and you can't even be held to deliver on a strategy. If your board give you a strategy for 5 years, or say the health HSE give you your strategy, or this is what we want to aim for, this is what we're going for, this is how many units or, you know, nights accommodation and private nights we want to have, you know, they never own it because they're gone. They're gone. They're looking at their next job. So that's one of the failures of senior public, that rank in the public service. They move on. Tony O'Brien's
exit is extremely peculiar.
Pretty handsome, isn't it?
Well, it's very handsome, but he's also allowed to join the board. I know that that was rescinded today, but he's allowed to join the board of a company called Evofem, which is vaginal gel, a contraceptive gel called Amphora.
Oh, John, don't say that again. It's not the type of words I want to hear coming out of your mouth.
No, no, I know. It's a contraceptive gel for women's intimate places, the special place. He's decided not to have this dual role, running the HSE and the vaginal, the gel, female gel. It's just incredible. I have to say, I really think
it's no surprise. They all have their gigs lined up, because when you get to that end,
sorry, Johnny.
When you get to that level. When you get to that level, they're automatically you're on gardening leave when you're moving out anyway, once your replacement is lined up and identified, you know.
But normally there's a period of reflection, like a couple of months before they jump in. This guy's
I don't get these, John. I don't get these people at all. If I had that pension, I'd be gone, lads. No doubt, I wouldn't be hanging around.
Exactly.
Now, if it was a board appointment that they flew me once a month to Bermuda or to Las Vegas, of course, you know, I wouldn't say no. But why would you want to look for another job when you're guaranteed 100 grand a year for the rest of your life?
So then we learned that the boss of Evofem, the vaginal, the Lady Garden cream, apparently
Stop it, John.
I was researching it today, and you apply it 5 minutes before doing the bowl thing, and it's like, that's it. You know, you don't need anything other than that. Anyway, Amphora. if anybody's out there in the market, but the shares for Amphora might have slipped somewhat in the last couple of days because one of their board members is in a bit of trouble. I felt that. Sorry, I don't want to make light of this.
John, sorry to cut across you. Very important.
Yeah, please.
You need to email your guest a message there from Olga.
Oh, Catherine Corliss?
Email the link because she's waiting on it. Sorry to interrupt your flow there. Yeah. Email Catherine the link.
Okay, not at all. Thanks, Johnny.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
Johnny, I just wanted to say hello.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Johnny was attending the funeral today of Alex Bysouth, who has died aged 54. He spoke at last month's 420 rally in Dublin. He was a cannabis activist, legalization of cannabis, but specifically cannabis oil. He suffered from epilepsy from a brain tumor. Isn't that right, Johnny? Sorry, Johnny, your mic is off.
Yeah, can you hear me, John?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's right about Alex Bysouth. He was a great man, great activist. Met him a few times, and yeah, there was a lovely gathering. He got a great send off, and hi Neil, how are you lads? And that was it really. So I'm just here with some activists in the hotel in Drogheda to talk about the issue that is cannabis oil and the legacy that Alex has left behind, you know, and there's some really good interest and camaraderie amongst the cannabis and the caring community of medicinal cannabis, which is ongoing. You know, you had Vera on there the other week, and it's kind of really of the zeitgeist, and Alex was a trailblazer, kind of tour de force in that regard. He, as you say, he had epilepsy and he also had a brain tumor, and unfortunately he had got underneath the skin of the Oireachtas Health Committee to the point where they actually had given him the license, like what Ava Barry had, you know, what Vera got for her daughter, he was able to get. And he was a solid advocate and campaigner for Vera and Ava as well. And that was the kind of guy he was, John, real decent, salt-of-the-earth guy, very academic, and very interesting, and very, you know, sound, and a big loss.
There's a lovely speech he gave at the rally on.
Oh, fantastic! Yeah, Sean O'Hara, who recorded that, he just said like it was just very profound, like on the day, and that was the last time I seen him as well. Yeah, it's up there on the site, so I recommend people kind of look at it. And as I say, a really sad loss, and I'm just sorry. And I think most of the people that were there today, the same thing. Gentleman really knew his stuff. Informed all the politicians, TDs, councillors, senators. They were all aware of him. Yeah, he was a character as well. Good turn of phrase, good sense of humour.
Johnny,
real English.
He got his license, and then was it the next day he fell?
2 days afterwards, I think, John. Yeah, he went up to Dublin, got the license, and he had a bit of a gallery there as well because he was a bit of an activist, you know. And he just a real, as I said, gentleman, you know. So he just used to kind of bring in humour into any situation that he was part of. And yeah, he got the license, and unfortunately had an accident, just a random accident on Friday morning, and. It's important to say, like, to the point where he had got his license, he just said, well, that's just the start of it. I'm going to keep going and making sure that other people in my position have it. And it shouldn't be, you know, 6 or 7 or 10 of us, you know, one by one, you know, just move the whole thing forward, get into the 21st century, like the rest of the world, take the lead from ourselves. And as I say, a sorely missed campaigner, and definitely we found that his spirit will live on, and we're organising the fundraiser in his honour. And I think there's a walk as well. So, you know, to me, they didn't really go near it this week because of obviously what was going on. And I'm sorry to hear what Vanessa was saying there earlier. I just came in the back of it, but it does sound fairly drastic. So we'll talk to there. But yeah, that's shocking. So that kind of, you know, where the politicians were this week. But I'm saying the next fight, there's so many fights going on, and they affect us all.
Yeah,
what's happening with the women affect us. You know, we're all part of it, and we're all part of changing it as well. So I think that's it. Unfortunately, Alex is gone, but his memory will live on. His legacy will definitely live on.
Thank you, Johnny. Can you just turn off your mic?
Yeah.
Thank you so much for that.
I hope Johnny's listening there, but it might accelerate the argument now with Vicky Phelan and all this breaking into the news. It might just accelerate the argument for medicinal cannabis.
Yeah. I mean, I think there's a lot of things sort of converging at the moment.
Yeah, I'm not saying exploit it, but it certainly should encourage the debate actually to consider medicinal cannabis to run alongside treatment for cancer, you know.
Yeah, well, it's considered. I mean, it is a painkiller, at least. I mean, it's a replacement for morphine in a lot of hospitals in Holland.
But you were talking about the Tony O'Brien, and it just shows you how prominent, how important the role of big pharma is with these guys. So he's already got his job lined up, and I think you were going to start telling us about the boss of that company, being chair. Was you going to tell me he's chair of the Dublin East HSE or something?
He's non-chairman of the not the matter. It's the Coombe. No, Southeast. Sorry, I did so much research on Catherine Corvus before the show.
No. It's these guys. They all change, everybody, and there's all different regions. There's all different hospital groups. So don't get too tied up with them all. Yeah. But he's the guy that organised a fundraiser as well for Leo. Yeah. So now let's move away. This shows how the role Big Pharma has in these people's lives, in these people's day-to-day 9 to 5. Completely. So now is the time to really say, you've let us down here. Let's talk about medicinal cannabis now in an adult way.
Well, the Progressive Democrat who forced, well, not forced, it's true. I mean, Finn Fo were willing
participants. No, Mary Harney.
Yeah, Mary Harney is a very, very wealthy woman now as a result of Big Pharma giving her board positions.
Yeah. But she was the driver of privatisation. I mean, she was the driver of the hygiene audit. Hospitals are dirtier now than they were 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was under her watch that this stuff was outsourced to the lowest tender. We gather into labs in New Jersey and whatnot. I'd like to say hello to Neil. Neil, who's
hello.
Hello, Neil.
Greetings from Newgrange. Hi, everyone. This is my dear friend, Katie Shute. We're on location tonight.
Hi.
We're here at the inaugural Improv Utopia Ireland, out by Newgrange, and we're here with the teachers and the staff, just getting things ready for this. So this is something I've been attending for a number of years in the US. It's been going for 8 years, and this is the first time we have it in Ireland.
Wow.
If we're lucky, we might have the organizer, a chap there, Nick Armstrong, with a green hat.
Hello, Nick.
Nick is no stranger. He can't hear us at the moment because we're low tech again tonight. Yeah. Nick is no stranger to the screen and stage, and he's been in Ireland here before. But he takes time out to look after the improv community and does a lot here for improv, and we're growing. That's growing as this is the first step into Europe, and Ireland is the flagship of that. So really, really great to see. I'll give you a quick tour. I don't want to hijack because I know you were talking serious stuff. So you can kind of see some of the staff there in the background, I hope. Wow. A lot of jet lag people. So we've got people who've flown in from, obviously Katie's here from the UK.
Very jet lag.
We have people who've flown in from the States, from California, Arizona, Detroit. So yeah, this is a big thing. We've got a little over 100 people coming up to Newgrange tomorrow. It's about 50-50 in terms of Europeans, quite a lot of Irish people, local improvisers, and people getting into the art form. Myself and Katie.
Neil, is Ireland seen as a kind of an improv, hotspot?
No, not yet, but I'm working on it. Katie takes credit for that because London is this hub in Europe, and there's a lot of really great things going on there. But as we all know, Dublin and Ireland is a place that's very wonderful to visit. So why not come and do some improv along the way?
So we have
some.
Sorry. Does our natural shyness prevent us from playing at the top level?
I would like to say it's our shyness is our strength. But maybe I'll let Katie. Katie was just we were eavesdropping on the medicinal cannabis thing, and I know maybe Katie could share some insight from her view of the world as well. But maybe let Katie introduce herself and let her say really great things about Ireland and why Ireland will be the hub and not London.
Do you guys sorry, during your downtime, do you play charades and things? Yeah. Okay.
What's that? Sorry.
We play charades.
It's like if you asked a professional dancer from the Rumba dance company if they did something, it's kind of like that. So us playing charades, just dial that up a little bit.
Yeah, it's overdoing it a bit.
Add 15 years experience, but yeah, basically that's exactly what improv is. Yeah.
Okay. The sound is not great. Could you move closer, Kate,
We're on the Bluetooth tonight, and it's like I say, it's a bit low tech because there's no the Wi-Fi signal is quite poor, so we're probably all digital. So we won't stay too long, but we did want to drop in and say hello.
It's true improv. Katie, please take the floor.
Sure. So London has a great scene. I think Dublin does as well. I've been coming up to Ireland for a few years, kind of taking part in the community and teaching people. But it's basically not just a fun art form, but it's a nice kind of social movement in a way. I would say there's a community that's here at this particular camp. You can hear it in the background probably, but it's so warm and it's making art by committee. So rather than being competitive and seeing who's the funniest, it's much more about everyone making everyone else good. And I think that's certainly something that can be a broader, more sociable thing.
Yeah,
whether people want to be performers or not is, secondary, I think.
Yeah, because I think the turnoff of the television improv is that they are show-offs, aren't they? They're just like constantly kind of outdo each other. But it's more collegiate. Yeah. It's more collegiate off TV, is it?
Yes, I think so. And sometimes what happens when improvisation gets translated to television is that often it's stand-up comedians with maybe less experience of improvisation because they are better known, because the nature of stand-up is more that the persona comes across, whereas for improvisers we are more as a team, so where it tends to be less names in a way because everyone's subsuming themselves to be part of one larger thing. So I think that's where it loses some of the translation to television.
Yeah, that sounds lovely. And will you guys be performing tomorrow, improv, or is it just workshops?
Well, it's like I said, there's over 100 people going, and it's very exciting for me because Katie has been my teacher many times over the years, and now we're both sharing the teaching bill alongside. So we're representing Ireland, the UK, and Europe, and we have 4 teachers from the US that are here as well. So we're kind of nudging them out of the way so we can show them how it's really done. And we've got Craig Kikowski here who stars in Community and Drunk History on Comedy Central. We've got Nick, who you just met a moment ago. He's the head honcho of the organization. He's starring Grey's Anatomy and The Office and Parks and Rec. And like those guys living in LA, improv is a big part of an actor's development, an actor's part.
They're very.
And that's something that
Are they? Are they almost?
Say again, John?
Are they too quick for us English and Irish kind of?
Well, there is a difference between the US approach to improv, I think, and what we bring culturally from a European perspective. We arguably have a very rich theatrical background, and I think that offers a great diverseness with the art form. But I think another thing as well that's really wonderful about improv that you don't tend to see with other art forms is the immediate factor of it. For example, if you're talking about medicinal cannabis there, and if we were to take that and we can use improv as a tool to to display our art or interpret what's going on in the media or what's going on with a topic and create that art in the moment, create that response in the moment or whatever it is. Whereas with other art forms, you don't necessarily get that immediate effect. And I think that's something that's very powerful about improv. We don't really get to see that a lot. And as you mentioned, it doesn't translate too well on TV, but certainly in a live setting, in a live room, a live audience of people, it can be very profound. Although it tends to lean itself towards comedy the vast majority of the time.
It's like a kind of a verbal jazz, but you don't have to be a trained musician.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And in terms of teaching, is it something that can be taught? Obviously, it is, but.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the wonderful thing about improv is like it attracts people from all walks of life. I mean, you'll get people who want to just develop the skill for confidence, public speaking. You'll get people who want to be actors, comedians,
sociopaths.
You really do get people. Sociopaths, we have a few of them as well. So you do get people from all walks of life.
Yeah, it's becoming a bigger thing in business these days as well. Like actually using the term improv. I think previously a lot of people have liked to call it like agile thinking or team building. And
Yeah.
more and more, I think we're getting more from the States that businesses do approach people like me and Neil. And so we need some improv in our business. We need to be more spontaneous and creative and use it as part of our business practice. Yeah.
Well, we've been doing that in Ireland. We've been making it up as we go along, but that's a different kind of thing. It's a slightly different, big distinction between them. But Katie, just in terms of the sound quality is not great. Can I wish you the best of luck tomorrow with the Improv Fest, Neil, our producer?
Yeah. Can I just give one shout out? So a few of the viewers will be familiar with George, the lovely dog who often patters around in the background. But we got very sad news this week. Very, very sad news this week. George has to have his ear removed. He has to have his ear canal removed and his ear stitched up. And we're devastated. He's been so much at the vet. So the next time you see George, he will be only hearing you from one of his ears. So be thinking of George over the next few days as he goes through this change of event in his life, change of life circumstances.
This is terrible. But he has such prominent ears.
Well, it's not the flap is cosmetic. It's the inside of it that's the problem.
He doesn't lose the flap.
It's traumatic.
Jesus,
he doesn't lose the flap. Yeah, it's terrible. They're like babies. They're like.
It's his eardrum. Neil.
It could have been a lot worse.
That's shocking. I'm sorry.
Yeah, his eardrum was ruptured. The infection in his ear was so bad it ruptured his eardrum. So sadly, the vets could do no more. So I'm devastated.
Get him to your man there, the guy from Lynch in England, super vet.
Oh no!
You know, at this stage, we try anything.
Yeah, I had a dog with one eye. It's very tough. But they manage. I mean, they don't even notice it. Well, they do, but they don't.
No, they don't.
Well,
they don't complain about it.
Their hearing is 10 times better than ours, so you know he's going to still be able to hear better than us.
Well,
he'll still pot around in the background.
It'll probably.
We're devastated as parents of dogs.
It sound a bit like the sound quality from Newgrange. Katie, are you going to visit? Are you going to visit the cemetery or the Neolithic?
The Jewish festival, lads.
North and south.
Yeah, I'm going there tomorrow. Yeah.
Oh yes. Will you visit the Neolithic ruins and whatnot and?
Yeah,
it's our Stonehenge.
Tomorrow we're just settling in. Yeah, so I'm gonna go and see that tomorrow lunchtime. Yeah.
It's a lot of druids and whatnot. Well, have a great time. Neil, thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Take care. Enjoy the long weekend.
Thanks a lot,
Bye-bye.
Neil.
Thanks, Neil. Great stuff. Have a great festival. Nice meeting you, Kate.
Cheers.
Very informative. Very profound stuff.
Very profound.
That sounds like great crack, doesn't it? They explain it so brilliantly, like.
Johnny, where are you?
Sorry, I might be a bit loud. I'm in the lobby of the hotel.
You're in the. Oh, I see. Sorry.
The hotel here in Drogheda. Plug.
Were you in?
We got free Wi-Fi out of sponsorship.
No. All right. Yeah. There is some
bread.
Yeah. Johnny, there was a reception. There was a party in Nolan's. Was it in Drogheda? Or
it was actually, yeah. No. Alex was a character. He went out in the crematorium. And they came back, Nolan's bar, and they had a singer because Alex loved going to the pub and he had all the hits. He loved Ray Orbison, loved Elvis. His brother Julian, because he was from Exeter. Is it not Exeter? Was it Preston? I think somewhere up north. But he lived in Drogheda for years. But his brother came over from South London. He was a character. He was singing a few of their songs, and his partner was there. And she was obviously kind of trying to keep a straight thing. But an awful lot of great people around. Really, once again, just. Yeah. He was just a gentleman. Everyone liked him. Everyone had a good word to say about him, and it's just shocking. Like as I said, the accident was that he fell on Friday morning and he was brought to the hospital and he passed on Sunday. Yeah. So it was just a random freak accident. When he was after doing so much, as I said, but the party was in his honour, so it was all very good. Right. And I think, as I said, there's going to be a fundraiser on another date
Johnny,
Yeah.
I think there's a reason why that Wi-Fi is free.
Very loud, is it?
It is
The
quite
hen
loud.
party, is there?
Well, there's a few customers alright, but I'm trying to kind of. Yeah, I can imagine that tonight, so I'll just turn the mic off, okay?
Find a quieter corner if you can.
Just
Turn the mic off. Yeah, a little quiet.
Yeah. Do you want to talk to me? I'm here to listen for a bit, maybe, because I might get on the road. I'll turn off the mic and I'll continue on for a wee while.
Thanks, Johnny.
Stay up here in Drogheda,
Drogheda.
the capital city, and loud.
Drogheda.
Tell them in the dark, right?
So Vanessa, your bombshell tonight now has upset everyone. I think so. I think everybody's wishing you the best. People are emailing me, so to say the very best to you. And
well, I didn't think you were going to say anything, John. Sorry, viewers. John landed that now on you.
No, Vanessa. I said, would you like to talk?
I said we would talk about the case and.
No, but okay. Well, we can play it back. I know, Vanessa. You literally told me.
John did it, John. Anyway, just in the chat, but there is the questions. Everyone, hi in the chat pit.
Hello, the chat pit.
There seems to be great action there tonight. Tony Smith is surrounded by women. It's like he's delighted with himself, I think. But they were wondering, basically, they want to know, would we go to Electric Picnic? Would you believe, John? Set up, do the show from there.
The picnic.
So I think, yes, we would. We'd love it. If we were invited, we'd love to go. No problem.
But isn't that's MC? I mean, that's like, sure.
Is that mainstream? Is that qualified? Is that like mainstream?
I think it's a little
festival?
Bit. Yeah, I think it's a bit middle of the road, frankly.
Is it?
Yeah, I prefer something.
It's 100% corporate, lads. Any festival that sells out before they announce any bands, it's not, people aren't into the music. That's what festivals are about, like, essentially. And now a spoken word tent.
Anything with a camping site with it, where it's
and Tom Dunn.
Well, what about the classic Fela, or is that?
Oh man, I remember classic Fela. I remember 92 to 95.
This is going to be a little bit different, I think. The classic.
Yeah, because everyone's in their 50s now, so they have to sit down.
2-liter bottle of Linden Village and an L&N cooked chicken, and you change back from a tenner.
Dad's on E.
You know. Well, I didn't see any of that. I wasn't even drinking or smoking. Can you believe that? When I was down there,
But you don't drink or smoke now, Johnny.
I was high on music. Well, I'm drinking orange now, and that's it. Like, so time to get serious, Vanessa. The world is changing. We want to get Fela outside of Turles.
Johnny,
outside the Simple Stadium.
Johnny, by the way, can I just say that Catherine Corliss is going to come on at any moment. We've sent her the link. We spoke to her before the show, and she'll come on soon.
Can I go back to the chat pit there while we're generalizing? Is there Mr. Bob Moore has cropped into the chat pit there, and he's mentioned All Together Festival. Johnny, do you know anything about that?
I think just tell me where it is. Is it Waterford or Wicklow? There's an awful lot of them going around, Vanessa.
Maybe I could just Google it.
Or maybe that was there.
I suppose everyone we'd love to do an on the road at a festival or a get together. Even Neil and myself were talking about doing vox pops at different events.
Johnny, can you just your mic?
Yeah.
Wow.
Just even that the festival sounds like a great idea to do a show from. But even if no matter what type the group is around the country, it could be Tidy Towns or a book group or a NAM Dram group, we'd love to hear from you. So just email John.
Well, if you're Tidy Towns, please email Vanessa. I don't want to hear from you. With the greatest respect to the Tidy. But I think...
You're so mean.
Is there heavy... I'm not a heavy metaler, but I love the Irish heavy metal scene. There must be a heavy metal festival.
Johnny's laughing there.
Man. Ballykeefe Quarry outside Kilkenny, Saxon played their first Irish gig there.
And is there one there this year, Johnny?
Build it, they'll come, man. I'm of that Wayne's World too. I know I've met Jim Morrison. I wasn't with a naked American Indian, but I did meet Jim Morrison on a trip once. So, like, I'm of the philosophy: build anything and it'll come, and that's what
I bumped into Van Morrison.
Like, maybe I'm full of energy coming from Drogheda and Alex's funeral, but there is a matter of energy to be harnessed. So, in relation to, I'm not really that bothered of going to any festivals this year. I think if we create one big massive one, the summer of content, that's what I want to get around. So I don't really like going to festivals for the sake of going to festivals. I think it's kind of lost its kind of appeal over the years. We go back to Fela, that was a festival, man. That was one of its kind, and you had to be there. And that's why there was more crack outside of Turles.
But
Stadium.
you know something? Yeah, but if Liveline had been
festivals are so banal these days, lads. They really are.
But, you know, I mean, I think people are still suffering from hangover. There's binge drinking going on there.
Yeah, and it's bullshit, man. Pay 300 quid to go into a field to feel liberated smoking dope.
But no, we
smoke dope anyway. Fuck it.
Yeah, do you remember, Johnny, the Fela, the one where the guy fell down from the stadium? I saw that.
Oh, yeah. So did my cousin. We were talking about that during the week. Can you believe that we're regaling Fela stories because it was in the news, obviously? And there's some great stories. But yeah, I didn't see that, but he told me.
I saw that.
Across the actual stand, and he fell.
It was during World Party, if you remember then.
World Cup?
No, a band called World Party.
Oh, World Party, sorry, yeah, the band.
And people could see him, and it was just like, please don't, please don't, please don't. And he was in the scaffolding of the stadium. He fell. And this is the first time the sort of fake news. About an hour later, they were like, he's fine, it's okay. And of course he would. I mean, you could see, like, nobody is. So I never really found out what happened to that guy, but my God.
I wonder, wouldn't you love to know? Because my cousin was just telling me that story as well. And I said, that must have been shocking to see.
Shocking.
He says the whole stadium, like, was
yeah. I mean,
well, I saw someone jump off the back of the Stevens
all right. Sorry.
Which?
You know the Stevens Green shopping centre, the car park at the back. You know, you go in. I know there's all hotels there now, but I saw a guy jump off the top of that, and it's quite shocking. It's kind of like there's an energy hits you, even though there's just this. The hit on the pavement.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you experienced that in Semple, because it's probably falling on bodies and on the pitch, and so there is this enormous force of energy comes with the.
We're talking about good energy there, lads, not people that I can, you know what I'm saying. Fela, that's grand. Does this sound really, really bad, lads?
No, it's okay at the moment. It's just when there's
they got a new mic.
a guy singing in the background, Johnny.
Johnny, the vision is great. The mic, your mic
like
is fantastic. It's fantastic. But
there's always something though, John, isn't there?
There's a guy behind you.
No, it's fine. It's just picking up the people in the background, Johnny.
So good.
But it's great. Come here. That festival is actually in Waterford. It's all together.
About that. Yeah. Very reggae orientated.
Oh, but should we be on for that?
Jimmy Cliff. I've interviewed Jimmy Cliff before.
Yourself and myself have no problem with that.
Wonderful world, beautiful
people.
Yeah, an awful lot of people are touting that as the festival of the summer. So yeah, send us. We go down to that one, lads. I'll retract on my previous statement, John. I will go to all the people.
It says all together now. It doesn't say all the people.
No, all the people are going to Offaly on the 25th of August. I'll tell you more about that. That is big. Bob Geldof says he hasn't come. Sinead O'Connor, Damien Dempsey, Glenn Hansard, they all said they haven't. They all said they're not going. So there's a possibility that they might. 25th of August. So it's all good.
Is that your one?
Yeah, an awfully good vibration.
We'll set up a show from there, so.
And Barry Keefe as well has been done as well, but I can't really talk about it, you know. We don't have a date yet, but
okay,
Johnny, Johnny, the background noise is so.
Okay. It's just going to be massive. I'm just leaving it with that. That's all I'm saying.
But can you go somewhere quieter, Johnny? Please. He's angry now. He's sulking.
He's not.
I'm not angry, John. I've made the big effort to leave. Well, everyone had left. They were there from 5, and they left around 9:30. So it was fade out. We did the job. So I might just actually hit the road.
Okay.
Because we know you've got Kenny coming on as well.
Got Catherine coming on, and Olga's coming on,
and Kenny,
Luke,
Kenny Tynan.
And sorry, Kenny Tynan. I sent Kenny the link
Yeah, so hopefully, you know, because he got a very interesting story to tell. Hopefully we'll see him tonight.
Would you maybe give him a call?
I'll send him an email. That's it. Okay.
Send an email. Yeah. I'm
still listening to you. So I apologize once again for the sound listeners and John and Vanessa. We'll leave it at that. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
Not at all.
Still listening though, yeah?
Not at all.
Is he gone? Hey, oh, he's only listening in, is he?
Oh, good, great. Yeah,
so the chappets have gone mad for us going away. John?
Is anybody concerned about your... I mean, is there any medical questions needed answering?
Oh, Jesus, I'm not answering people's medical questions. You can do it.
No,
you know all about vaginal gel and everything, John. Where does it go? Go on, John. Show me.
No.
Where does it go?
No, I mean, that's the company that Tony O'Brien is going to. He's the board. He's on the board already. Now there's
vaginal gel and everything.
Oh, gee, Catherine.
Can you see me there, John? By any chance?
Catherine. Yeah, I can. We can hear you.
Yeah. Well, maybe if she talks to you, John, without picture.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'll get her to you now.
Okay.
So we were trying on my laptop, and for some reason you weren't coming up.
Would Catherine be able to wear earphones?
Yes.
Great, because that won't pick up the sound then.
Okay. I'll just give us 2 seconds.
Thank you so much.
I'm mortified. All I could hear back was me talking back, saying vaginal gel.
And Mr. Corliss, Mr.
Oh, we're making a show of ourselves.
Catherine Corliss obviously is the historian who I guess just kind of stumbled upon the discovery of, at first, she was writing for a local historical newspaper, and she wanted to find out who had died at the Chew Mother and Baby Home. She got a list of the names and where were they buried. She checked whether they'd been buried at their birth mother's home village or not, and then she discovered it. And I think everybody kind of knows the story, but here she is now, Catherine.
The earphones.
That's great.
Okay, I have it here now. Yeah.
It's brilliant. Hello, Catherine.
Turn on the camera.
Yeah. It's a pity about the camera.
Now here, sit down there.
Yeah.
Hello, Catherine.
Yes,
hello.
yeah.
I know that. My name's Vanessa.
Can you hear me okay?
Oh, absolutely, beautifully. We're just wondering, we can't see you, so I'm wondering, is there a camera there that you could turn on?
No, the camera. Vanessa.
The camera is there, but it's just not working.
Yeah, we had this earlier. You see, this is the problem we had before the show started. Catherine, can you hear me?
Yeah, you're better now. Yeah, you were breaking up. I can hear you now.
Great. You're okay. All the sound. Catherine.
Yeah,
hi.
I can hear you.
Hi. It's such a pity we can't see you, but it's very nice to hear you. Very welcome to the show.
Thank you very much.
Broadsheet, the website which we're affiliated with, has been following obviously your story, the story of the Chew Mother and Baby Homes.
Yeah.
Kind of since the beginning, and I wanted to get around to you about the coverage of that. But can you tell me what is the latest since early?
The latest, the latest is, John, we're just waiting patiently since last March. The latest development was that Galway County Council gave us 2 facilitators to listen to our accounts, and we met in Tuam in the Curly Court Hotel, and about 35 survivors turned up. It was a great turnout. And what happened was we had a representative from Galway County Council And we had the 2 archaeologists that did the excavation on the site, and we had a facilitator to speak with us. And the meeting went on for about, went on at least 5 hours, which was a great turnout. And the whole idea was that the facilitators listened to the survivors to see what they wanted to do at this stage after the excavation, and after we realised that it was the Tuam babies. So they actually brought it down to a voting system where we had to vote whether the place was to be more memorialised or whether it was to be excavated again and exhumed, and right up to the last option was to do DNA and the whole lot. Now, all that information has been accumulated. The facilitators also met with the residents of the housing estate that's built around the graveyard, and also with some of the general public, and that's gone back into the government now to to a group that Minister Zappone has put together to examine the results of that meeting, and we're waiting patiently, I believe, from Catherine Zappone's secretary, James Gibbs, that they should have a result this month, and hopefully we will know what the government have decided to do with the Tuam site. That is up to the latest.
What's your preferred option, Catherine?
Well, naturally enough, John, it's to first of all do more excavations because there are burials outside the area where the excavations were done. There are burials. There are some coffin burials, and they're in the green area, and they're also underneath the playground that has been put on top of them. And of course, the survivors who have family buried there, like anybody else, if you had a brother or sister or some relation there, they don't want those little remains left in a sewage area. So as regards the survivors, option 1, to memorialise the site, is just not an option. And it's an insult, really, to even think about that, because back in the 1970s, when the housing estate was being built, that's exactly what happened. The bones were discovered by 2 little boys who broke the top of the tank. There was a little opening, and they just broke the lid that was on it, and they got an awful shock at the time to see all those little remains. And at the time, the guards were called, the priest was called, the Bon Secours were notified, but nothing was done. They just covered in the whole area. They put a few feet of rubble and clay on top of it and left it there. And to memorialise a site, it's just doing the same thing all over again. It was covered up, literally covered up back in the 1970s.
Is that one of the reasons why the estate doesn't stretch over to that area? I mean,
Oh, absolutely. So many reporters came there back in 2014, and cameramen, and a lot of journalists came. And the first thing they noticed was that they said it was the most peculiar layout of a housing site that they ever saw. But it's quite obvious when you go in there. It's just the houses were literally just built around this area, because it was known by the Galway County Council, because the ground belonged to them. It has belonged to them since the time of the workhouse. And of course they know the burials were there, so they just more or less built the houses right around the whole area, which was an awful insult to all those little babies and children and their families, especially their mothers at the time.
But it was the local people who tended to that area, wasn't it? I mean, in terms of...
It was indeed, John, and we wouldn't... I think nobody would have known about it only for those people. They just after the boys found the bones, I mean, those residents, most of them didn't know, because they only moved in the 1970s. They wouldn't have known the history of the home, and they just presumed that those little bones were belonging to the famine period back in the 1840s, because it's the ground and the home of the time of the famine. And the residents that lived near the corner there where the grotto is, when they heard those children's bones there, they decided just to cordon off the area and to put up the little grotto and just to tin the area. And only for those people, it would have been completely forgotten about and never known.
You know, the 2 boys, when they discovered it and the guards came, we only hear from the boys about what they saw. I mean, there were adults then who covered it up, and who literally covered up the the whole.
Well, absolutely, it was. But it was because the county council, they were asked to do it by the county council. And
it's just that we only hear from I know the boys are elderly now.
Yeah.
They're sort of like, they were kids, they were, but
yeah.
Weren't some adults? I mean, aren't some adults living now who saw those bones?
Well, the boys said that a few people came in and had a look at them, and there was also a few skulls scattered around the place. From the testimony of Mary Moriarty, who happened to fall down a hole in the same area when the ground collapsed under her, because they all went to see what the boys had found. And I don't know really what happened, because even at the time, I never knew. I had never heard about it in the 1970s. It was kept so quiet. There was no report, no nothing. Only the residents around the area would have known, and just nothing was done, because even though the guards came up, there was nobody to take out a few bones and examine them at the time. And it was known by the authorities who they were and what had happened, but it was literally covered up. And that's why now today the survivors, they don't want to cover up again. They want their family reinterred in the cemetery or with their own mothers. And we're still waiting to find out what will happen.
Okay, and how strong is the possibility of DNA identification?
Yeah, there's a very strong possibility of DNA in the report that came out last December as regards what to do with the remains of the children. It is in the report that DNA wouldn't really be feasible at this stage because the bones are so fragile and that they were intermingled, and that DNA wasn't a possibility. But in recent weeks, Anna Corrigan, who has two brothers who died in the home, she's sent for a Freedom of Information request from the department, where she found that Marie Cassidy came down to Tuam and with the coroner after the excavation was done back in 2017, and Anna was able to get a letter which dictated to the coroner that that there was a lot of. She explained to the coroner. Sorry, I'm going off the track there now, John, a little bit. I'm just mixing up the two stories. You asked about the DNA.
Yes.
Recently, yeah. Sorry about that. The Marie Cassidy is another story that we hadn't been told. But going back to the DNA, between Trinity College and University College Dublin, they have sent a submission to Galway County Council and to the government, claiming that the DNA that the report that they were talking about in the report, that is 20 years old, and DNA has become so advanced in the last few years. These doctors are saying that it is very, very possible to extract DNA from the petrous bone in the skull of the child, and there are skulls there, and they can extract DNA. So because DNA is so advanced, and that it can be done at a lot less of the cost that was being claimed.
Okay.
At the time. So they are saying, and they have put in their submission, that it is very, very possible to get DNA from each and every skull that's there without destroying the bones.
And have they conceded that, the state?
Sorry?
Have they conceded? Have they conceded?
Well, Minister Zapone, she has said that she will look at their submission, and that they will take a decision on it. Yes. So, I mean, we just really don't know at the moment. We're just waiting and hoping that they will do the right thing and get those children out of there.
Yeah, Catherine Zapone phoned you with the news last year, wasn't it?
Well, it was actually the commission. It was actually the Commission of Inquiry, a member of the Commission of Inquiry, who contacted me that morning. Well, the first I had heard of it was from our local radio station, that they knew there was an announcement coming on March 3rd, 2017, and that was about 8 o'clock in the morning. So we just figured that it was sort of out of the blue. It just came out of the blue, and we were figuring that it must be something big. Yes. So the commission rang me then, and that's when the story broke, to say that yes, these bones were belonging to the home children, and how they were found in so many chambers. And it is literally a sewage area. There's no doubting that. So it's just horrific.
There was the sense of vindication. I wanted to ask you, because when the story broke, it first appeared in the Tuam Herald, and then
there was a little piece in the Tuam Herald initially. We had asked the Tuam local county council to meet with us, because at the time it was only a simple idea, just to erect plaques, to purchase some memorial to the children, because in those early stages I hadn't realised that there was so many there, and it was only after a fair bit of research that I got the number 796. So a local committee, that a few of us gathered together, and we decided to erect plaques to the children, and we met with the Tuam Council then, and they said that they would give us a small bit of funding. So a little piece like that went into the Herald, but there was no outcry about it, and it's as if people just didn't want to know, because I suppose it was just so horrific.
Yeah, it is one of those things that is just.
It is very hard to listen to. Hi, Catherine.
Hello.
It is the detail, and knowing the detail you give into it, still very hard to listen to. You think of just about babies,
yeah.
That's all you think about, really, But just if you don't mind me going back to the DNA from the skull, remember, John, a while back they were able to get DNA from the Cheddar George man, who's the oldest living.
That's right.
Found. So I'd be very confident that they will have success on most of those.
Well, absolutely. It's as if, well, I feel myself that the government were minimising the whole thing, and they were, as Stephen Donoghue said, that they were they were given a very pessimistic overview to the whole lot. Instead of that, they were talking about the teeth of the children, that they would be well gone, and they were emphasising that. But they never mentioned about the skull. And going back to Marie Cassidy, the state pathologist, she mentioned that the skulls were there, and that was important. In that letter to the coroner, she had mentioned that there was a lot of skulls there. Now, that's the first indication we got that there was actual skulls, because the petrous bone is behind the ear on the skull, and that can be that would be the last bone to deteriorate, because you don't need the teeth really. You need the petrous bone, and that's a very hard bone, and DNA can be extracted from that. And we're hoping on that. I mean, we're getting no indication that the time is passing, and it's just been dragged out. As you know,
those bodies are still there.
They are. No, well, all the remains are there. All the bones are there. They are indeed, and they're intermingled. But they're talking about it being impossible to identify them. But they have said that there's 17 chambers, and full, with bones. And I mean, the bones of whatever children are in one of those chambers, it shouldn't be too hard to distinguish who they are. I mean, you're not talking about a whole tank full of intermingled bones. They're in different chambers, and the chambers are separate. So it's possible, if there was a will at all. It's very possible.
But are they?
Of course, it is able to put all those bodies, reassemble those bodies.
It should be.
They did it at Ground Zero. They do it at mass genocide sites, John.
I know.
It's regularly done in South America as well.
Yes,
you know,
that's right. That's right.
So there's no reason why the teams haven't already been there.
I know that. Well, that is true. I don't know why.
Pushing reassembling each bodies and just leaving them there.
I know.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, Catherine. You had there was a Department of Health visit to the Tuam Mother and Baby's home in 1947.
That's right. Yes.
You have a report from that visit.
I have a copy indeed of a report from that. Again, Anna Corrigan, who's trying to find her two brothers. She sent in a Freedom of Information request into the archives, and she got that report because her brother was listed on it, John Desmond Dolan. He was listed on it, and it along with that, the other children's names were blotted out. But there was at least 20 children who were in a deplorable condition, and a lot of it was there was marasmus, and it was children who seemed to be deprived of food and milk because they're pot-bellied and they were emaciated. So a lot of them, and it was a horrific report. From the state. It was the Board of Health that did that report.
That's why it was quite unusual. But was there? Have you found any follow up to that, or was there any sanction from the nuns? Can I just ask also?
No.
Bon Secours are a medical order, aren't they? I mean,
They are indeed. They are a medical order, is right.
Their nuns are basically nurses as well, aren't they? That sort of train.
They were nurses. They were a nursing congregation, and we did try. I tried on several occasions to speak with them. They did meet with us, with the committee that was set up to put up the plaques back in 2014. They met with us. The leader, Sister Mary Ryan, and a companion met with us in Galway. The reason they met with us was because when the story broke in 2014, they rang me the day after the Sunday when the story broke on the Mail on Sunday, and they rang me very early, and their take on it was not that, this is terrible, what can we do? Their take on it was, what's going on? This is terrible. There's reporters at our door. Our sisters are elderly. We are all shocked. We are all in a state of upset. That was their take on it. It was as if to say, what on earth are you on about? We know nothing about this. And it was the same about a week later when they met us in Galway. They were on the defence. They knew nothing about it. They had no records, and they couldn't believe that this would have happened. So after that meeting, there was no communication since. They will only speak through their PR person, Terry Prone. They will not talk to anybody. They've just more or less seem to have washed their hands of the whole affair, even though I know at the point that they made that, well, we weren't there at the time, but their congregation, the Bon Secours order, they're the same order, they were there. And I could never understand why they just wouldn't come out and say, what can we do about this? This is terrible. If they did that at the time, there would be no inquiry. There wouldn't have been any need for all this hurt to survivors. They have not come out and even offered to meet with the survivors, or just to do, just to make up to them in some way, but that hasn't happened.
Catherine, I wanted to ask about, do you remember you were on the People's Debate with Vincent Brown on TV3, I think last year?
Oh, that's right, that time. That's right, yeah. With two survivors.
Yeah, Peter and PJ.
You're right, yeah, that's spot on, yeah. And that's right.
I think it was Peter saying that he dreaded the summers because they wouldn't hit you with sticks.
That's right. No, it was the foster home actually. Unfortunately, the foster homes for some of the children were just horrific, and Peter was one of the unlucky ones. He went into a very bad home, a very bad place, and from the age of 5 he was ill-treated right through up to the age of 20 or so. So he was one of the unlucky ones, and there's many more.
PJ was there till he was 6.5. Does he remember any of the children dying?
Unfortunately, and it's the same story with each and every child that came out of there. They cannot they cannot remember only going out the door of the home and going into a strange car, or an ambulance brought some of them, and going into a strange house in the middle of nowhere. Some of them hid under the table for a few days, just they were afraid to come out. Some of them were terrified when they met a dog. They'd never seen a dog, and they were just petrified. And PJ Haverty, he was lucky. He went to a nice family, but even with that, he carried the stigma with him all his life, because the family were good to him, but people outside would always remind him who he was and where he came from, and they never ever got over that. They're a lovely bunch of people, the survivors. There's at least 30 of them in our circle, but they're all lovely people, and thank goodness they're very grateful that this story broke, because up to now they were kind of hiding who they were, because they knew they couldn't say it, because they'd be frowned on, but they found a new courage since the story is broken, since we've been meeting. We've met a group and we've been meeting every now and then, and they're different people. They have courage, and they're losing the shame, and their emphasis now is on getting an apology, because they feel now it wasn't their fault, it wasn't their mother's fault. They're really seeking not redress, but an apology and an acknowledgement, someone to be made responsible for what went on.
Yeah. God, sorry.
I know it's a horrific story, and it's.
I wanted to ask you. Olga actually wanted to ask you. Olga Cronin's with us.
Yeah.
I think he's been emailing each other the last couple of days.
Yeah. Yes.
Olga wants to know: is there any update on the UN special rapporteur they were supposed to visit before May?
I know, well, it's only in the last few weeks. There's apparently this man that the government were to get, this Pablo, I can't think of his name. It turns out that he's retiring next month. And it was mentioned last summer that the invitation was going out to him. And then again, months later, it was said that they were getting the invitation ready. Now, I cannot understand this. If you say in last summertime that you're sending out an invitation, I would have written that letter straight away, got it out, get things moving. But by even up to March, that letter wasn't sent. And now we're told that there's whoever's coming in that Pablo's place, the invitation is being offered to him. I mean, how long more is that going to take? It's just there doesn't seem to be a will to do anything. And to me, it's now Minister Zapone, she is the best. I must say she has been helpful. Yeah, she has kept to her word all along. She has come down to Tuam and met with survivors. She did order a survey of the rest of the grounds, which I was asking for, because I know there's burials under the playground. Yeah. And she did send down a team to do a geophysical survey of that area, which did show up little graves. So at least she has done that. And I think that maybe perhaps there's only so much she can do. I don't know. But I'm hoping that she will do the right thing, because she has been helpful, and she has been good to us all along.
Well, she's up against a culture there as well. So
she's up against a culture, and she probably has to answer to cabinet. And she has been promising that she will do her best, and that her heart seems to be in the right place. Catherine, so we're depending on that.
Just briefly, when the story broke and it went all around the world, CNN, Al Jazeera, the lot. After about a day or two of this, the establishment responded, and through the Irish Times and RTE, you were kind of castigated as this amateur historian.
Yeah.
This wasn't a tank. These are probably famine bones.
That's right. Yeah.
Now, we're kind of media watchers here, because we're
okay. Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
It seemed like an absolutely like a coordinated attack, or a coordinated attempt to kill the story, to bury the story.
Well, absolutely.
And involved.
It really was. Yeah.
Yeah, involving RTE, or the national broadcaster, I mean, the Irish Times, for instance, the piece by Rosita Boland, have the Irish Times apologised to you?
No, not a word.
Okay.
No, not a word. No, indeed.
Terry
No,
Prones,
and I mean,
Terry Prones,
Rosita did give me a hard time here for the interview when she came to the house. They were all quite nice, but she really interrogated me, and I knew she was looking for a different angle. And she picked me up on she picked me up on a tiny little slip up that I made, and she blew that out of all proportion, because I do believe she wanted to take a different angle to everyone else. But it was hurtful at the time. But no, she has never apologised, and these people don't seem to apologise.
It was surprising because the editor worked at the Tuam Herald, Kevin O'Sullivan.
That's right. That's right, indeed. Yeah.
Do you know?
And he's now back on that beat. He's now back on the Tuam mother and baby home story. I gather.
Who is that?
Kevin O'Sullivan, who had been the editor for Rosita Boland's story.
Yeah.
Steered that coverage, which was
yes, they have. They do. They have kept up to date with it.
No, but
the Irish Times.
Kevin O'Sullivan, the editor who sent Rosita up to
the
Tuam, is now covering the story himself as a journalist. Anyway.
Yeah.
Terry Prone. She went on the Late Late Show to apologise, or she said that she would apologise to you, or that she should have contacted you, but has she apologised?
Yeah. No letter yet. Postman didn't come yet with a letter from her. But
it's Vanessa. Do you know the remark when she was writing to that filmmaker? She used the expression "so."
That's right. So I thought it so.
So I was just thinking you should use
childish.
You should use. Oh God. It's incredible, really, that someone who kind of with such airs and graces and highfalutin client and all this would use such language. But you know what, Catherine? I think you should start using that yourself.
Okay.
You don't get an apology from the Irish Times. So I don't need an apology for that crowd.
That's right.
Because I know that's what I would be using.
Okay.
Catherine, what was the name of the local history newspaper that you were writing the original piece for?
Oh, it was the Jots magazine. It was the Jots journal. It's the Journal of the Old Tuam Society. It's Jots for short, And they bring it out. They bring it out every year. And I had written bits and pieces for them before, and I don't know, just out of nowhere, just at the Tuam home. Nobody's written about that, so I had no idea at the time where this was going to land me and land the country. And as someone said, just people say, joking with me. She said, "You're causing trouble again," kind of joking. Whenever I make an appearance anywhere.
Did you I don't want to keep you up too late, Catherine, but what's your views on what's happened this week regarding the cervical check scan?
Oh my God almighty, it's very hard to believe that. And I think when you see the government, they'll do their utmost to pass the buck to someone else, not take the blame, to minimise again, and to find any escape route that they possibly can. I can never understand how life would be simpler for everyone if why don't they just own up and hands up? Sorry about this. We'll rectify this. That's not the policy. No matter what department you look at, it's the same. It's the same in Tuam. It's the same with everything. It's the same. It's the same with the church. It's the same all over. They just won't take. They're not culpable of anything, and they'll just they'll minimise and take the handy way out they possibly can. It's obviously, I suppose, it's probably to do with claims. It's probably to do with cost, with money. I think money seems to be at the back of everything, because even again, I say in Tuam that unfortunately the clergy or anyone or the Archbishop has not met with us. And they've all kept aloof, and that's still I mentioned that again, I'm always mentioning it because it's very hurtful to the survivors. They wanted to meet with the Archbishop. I wrote to him and I said that survivors would like to meet with them, but the answer I got was that they were cooperating with the Commission of Inquiry and they didn't think it was appropriate at the stage. Now that's a peculiar answer to get when survivors just wanted to meet with their local clergy, and that's just the way it is. They just stay aloof. They just wait. They just keep quiet, hoping that this will pass over. And I believe it's because they just don't want to be held responsible. And I keep asking myself, is it money that's at the back of that? Are they afraid of being sued? And it's a shame, really. And what has happened in the last week with these women, even women have died, and they're still not just jumping in and just saying this is awful. They're still just more or less taking the backseat, as far as I can see, and just minimising again and finding an excuse to pass it on to someone else.
Catherine, thank you very much for joining us tonight.
Okay, John.
Will you maybe, we have the show every Thursday, maybe in a couple of months, keep us up to date on what's happening?
Absolutely. Maybe, hopefully, I'm hoping this month that the government will give us some answers as to what will be done in Tuam. But I know that people want those children out of that tank.
Yes.
Hopefully.
Catherine, there was another aspect. The cause of death was sort of like, there was one was for laryngitis. And,
I know, it was ridiculous. And if you study the lists of deaths, they seem to come in blocks. You might get eight kids with measles. The next 4 or 5 will have whooping cough. Yeah. The next, it just seemed to say, it's hard to believe it really what they did, what went on.
And then malnutrition was
marasmus, they called it. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that was malnutrition. It was. Yeah, absolutely. And when these children were fostered out, it's known that they were miserable. They were unwell, and they were they were malnourished. There's no doubt about that.
Okay, I'm just trying to think. It's murder, really. I mean, if you're a trained nurse.
Well, it is. It's just utter total neglect and uncaring, and it's so sad. And they have a chance now to make up to the people that did make it, as they say, that did hang on and they lived. And even now, they have a chance to come out and make up to them and just to apologise on behalf of their congregation, on behalf of the times, and that's not happening.
No. Well. Thank you, Catherine, and on behalf of everybody,
okay, John.
And we'll hopefully speak to you. And also, Catherine, will you thank Adrienne? Adrienne,
all right,
your daughter.
Yes,
she
that's right.
Gave us your email, so thank you.
Okay, all right, so okay, John. Thank you very much.
We'll see you next time.
Now. Thanks, Catherine.
Bye. Thanks. Thank you. Now. Thanks. Thanks. Bye. Catherine. Bye.
That's. Okay.
Well, we've a new visitor.
Okay. Thank you very much for your patience there. Sorry that we had no visuals of Catherine. Fantastic woman. I think she's just amazing.
The energy.
Yeah, just an amazing person. I did watch a lot of the interviews that she did just before we went on air, and she's just formidable. Hello to Luke. Luke Brennan in Portugal, just back from his art class. He's going to show us his etchings. Hello, Luke.
How are you doing? Actually skipped class this week, so nothing to show you. But
you're on the DOS.
Yeah, well, we all deserve a week off, don't we?
And can I say hello to Olga Cronin, who's just in from a shift?
Hello.
I'm delighted I caught the end of Catherine anyway, so that's great.
Olga, were you cycling do you cycle in and out of work?
No, I wasn't. No.
Okay, somebody emailed and said they thought it was you on a bike that had no mud guards, and said I was to tell you should wear a high-vis jacket because.
Okay, no, it wasn't me.
It's not. It wasn't Olga. Sorry.
Olga, there was only one day of the disclosure tribunal this week.
That's right, yeah.
2 witnesses.
1 day, 2 witnesses from the press office, the Garda press office. So this module is basically, I suppose, about media and Dave Taylor. And so I suppose, the upshot is that Dave Taylor has said he negatively briefed certain journalists about Margaret Morris McCabe. So the tribunal is going to have to find out what happened. We know that, without going back into the whole Miss D stuff, we know the Miss D allegation, we know it was found to have no foundation, but we know that 4 journalists did go to the Miss D house to interview her, or attempt to interview her, or at least try to contact Miss D. And they were, the first journalist was Debbie McCann from the Irish Mail on Sunday. And from the evidence we heard in the summer from the D family, it was a 5-minute affair. She got out of the car and Mrs. D didn't want to speak to her and she left. Then a few days later, Yvonne Murray from the Irish Sun went to the D house and she was brought in and spoke to Mrs. D and Mr. D for about half an hour, I think. They had a cup of tea and all this. But there was no article, I don't think, in the Sun after that, we're told. And then the next journalist, Mr. D said that Michael O'Toole of the Star tried to contact him on Facebook. And it was just a line that he said in his evidence, but I'm not sure if he did in fact contact him or if there was any contact after that. And we then know that Paul Williams did contact the D family and wrote 4 or 5 articles. It was 4 articles in April, May of 2014, in which he basically summed up Miss D's complaint. But bear in mind, this was in 2014 and the complaint had been done and dusted with, if you like, with the DPP back in 2008. So the question is, why did it re-emerge? Yeah. And it was re-emerging at a time when he was blowing the whistle on many things. So there's that. That's what Charlton has to ask those journalists, I guess. Why did you go knock on Miss D's door or try to contact them who put you in contact with him, or put you on that line of inquiry? And then separate to that, then we know that there are other journalists who have made other allegations as to other people saying different things about Maurice McCabe, and they're just going to have to sift through all of that and get to the bottom of it. But yeah, so there was 2. But sorry, so Dave Taylor was the head of Garda Press Office, and he, up until I think it was June 2014. So, and that's at that point he had been, or at that point he was arrested, questioned, and the file went to the DPP, but there was no charges brought against him. So I think we're going to hear more about that tomorrow, actually, maybe, or else Monday, or sorry, it's not sitting Monday, maybe Tuesday. But this is in relation to leaks to the media that he was apparently doing. And so yesterday, when there's 2 people from the Garda Press Office, one of them was the person who succeeded Dave Taylor once he was taken out of that position, and one was somebody who had been in the press office before and after Dave Taylor. And interestingly, or whichever, the press officer who, Paul Moran, retired Superintendent Paul Moran, who succeeded Dave Taylor, he said in his evidence that he met Dave Taylor after he was taken out of that position and that he was bitter about the fact that he was taken out of that position. And then there's the other guard mentioned that, and I think we'll all hear more about this, and that is that after Dave Taylor was no longer in the press office, he was in traffic. But it would seem that there were attempts made by him, at least this is what's being alleged, to A, get the media contacts list, and B, being put back on this list that would have received the press clippings. Because basically what happens in the Garda Press Office, we heard in the tribunal, is that every morning the guards go through, in the press office, they go through every paper to see what's been written about the guards. It's all brought together and it's given to senior Gardaí management, whatever. And so he wanted access to these clippings. And so we heard that after he was taken off the list, he found that Superintendent John Ferris found that he was on the list when he shouldn't have been on the list, took him off the list, and I think he was back on the list again, and all this. And also his evidence was that he found a guard one day printing off the media contacts list for Taylor, and she would have been, this is a guard she said that she was instructed to do so by Dave Taylor. But anyway, he put a stop to it or whatever. So I think, like, there were 16 witnesses supposed to give evidence yesterday. And so because they only got through 2, this will probably go on for a long time. But I'm guessing we're just going to hear an awful lot about Dave Taylor. And
okay, but I mean, just to cut through it, Dave Taylor has admitted himself that he's the source of, he's their source for the Miss D.
Yeah, his allegation is that he was under instructions from Martin Callan, the former Garda Commissioner, with the knowledge of Noreen O'Sullivan, to negatively brief journalists.
Okay, and they won't agree that this is the case because they don't want to admit that he's a source or something.
Well, this is what I mean. We can only go by what we've heard. In the opening statement, we know that the tribunal wrote to loads of journalists, and he had been in contact. Dave Taylor had been in contact with a lot of journalists, but who exactly he briefed is not clear. But it's definitely clear in the opening statement that he claims that he negatively briefed Maurice McCabe to Conor Lally of the Irish Times and Paul Reynolds of RTE. He has said that explicitly. That's what's in the opening statement. Now, what they would say to that, I don't know. I don't know. We don't know because it wasn't in the statement. So we're bound to hear more about that. But yeah, that's his allegation. He has waived his privilege. He has basically said journalists can say whatever they like, you know, tell what I told them. But we just don't know. But definitely yesterday we also heard about what journalists are seeking limited representation or have sought limited representation. So it would seem to me that there are a lot more journalists going to give evidence than I think we previously thought. But what they're going to say is another thing. We don't know. Yeah. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's hopeful that they're at least coming along, or at least lowering up anyway.
Yeah. So, I mean, it should be said that Charlton did make the point at the very start. Sorry to go on. The Charlton did make the point at the start of the proceedings to say, like, you know, it's not. The tribunal actually doesn't usually send out letters to journalists to say you need to get representation, blah blah blah. And he said that, but they did do that. And he said that it's because, you know, one person might. It sounds like there's going to just be a lot of swirling allegations about several journalists from other journalists to other journalists, from what I kind of could gather. But
they're all stitching each other up, are they?
Well, no, but I mean, I suppose we already know this business, or we already know that, let's say, for example, just one example, we mentioned it last week about Anne Harris, the former editor of the Sunday Independent, saying that, you know, a particular person had called Maurice McCabe a paedophile, but this person is saying that this never happened, or he doesn't recall it, but didn't happen. That's what he's saying. So you've got, you know, I think there's going to be a lot of that. And we already know as well that, you know, I think there's 2 journalists from the Mail who are saying different things about, we know from the opening statement that Alison O'Reilly had made particular claims about Debbie McGann, but Debbie McGann said the opposite. So I think there is just going to be situations where it's going to get pretty perhaps difficult.
Okay, I'll get Luke and Johnny and Vanessa. It's been such a.
We have another visitor there, John.
Who's this now?
Hello.
Hello.
Introduce yourself.
Please introduce it. Who is this?
Solid Mind.
Solid Minds. Does anybody know? Olga?
No.
Or your shifting friend? Is this?
You're in the wrong chat room, mate. John, lads, this is Kenny Tynan.
Hello, Kenny.
Coming from the heart of Ireland, that Loan. Thanks, Kenny.
How's it going, Johnny? Oh, great.
Good to see you, bro.
Hi, how are
you, man? Same as yourself.
Yeah, John, you know the crack. I sent in the information.
Yes, of course, yeah. Kenny, hello and welcome. We weren't expecting you so late.
Yeah, it's about past me bedtime now at this stage.
I know,
25 o'clock in the morning in the Midlands.
Kenny, they took your bloody cannabis oil. They seized your oil.
The bastards, they did, yeah. The bastards.
Where did they do that? Was it the post office or the
Dublin Mail Centre? So it was, yeah. I received a letter first telling me that they'd seized 50 grams of cannabis resin, and I rang them up and I says, "Hey, no, that wasn't cannabis resin at all. That was my medicine. It was cannabis oil. I want a letter back saying exactly what it was, like, you know." And within a couple of days, I had that back, and that's when I started the campaign to get it back, you know.
And sorry, and sorry, Olga, do you want to say something?
No, go ahead. I was just
okay. And will you be charged now with something, Kenny? Or?
They say that I'll be charged, but I have enough evidence there to prove that it's working. I've no bother going to court. Let them bring me to court. I'd be able to set a precedent then for everything, and there'd be no need for a bill then, you know.
Yeah.
Let them bring me to court, because it's only morally correct, you know what I'm doing, you know. I'm only trying to save me life here, like, you know.
Kenny, you have cancer of the brain, is that right?
Yeah, I do. I have a small tumor, so I have. I had stage 2 glioblastoma removed in February, I was diagnosed in February. It was removed in April, and they thought they got it all out, but in subsequent scans showed what they thought first was scar tissue was enhancing, and so scar tissue doesn't enhance. So like this just says, look, your tumor is returning, and it's it's getting bigger, like So that's when I asked them about going on medical cannabis, and they didn't want to. So I ended up having to go to Spain for a 3-month treatment, and my last scan has shown that there has been no progress in the tumor since 2016, and I have a letter from Beaumont confirming that.
Wow!
And saying that I was being treated with medical cannabis in Spain.
Yeah.
So.
And
yeah,
are you? The 50 grams, was that a month's supply, Kenny?
50? No, it was 50 mils.
Sorry.
50 mils of 10% THC. That's what it was. I have to take 150 milligrams of that per day, 50 milligrams 3 times a day, in equal quantities with CBD. 150 milligrams of CBD each day as well. The two of them kind of balance each other out, and it drops under the tongue, So
yeah. And it was a month's supply that they took off you.
Yeah, it was indeed. Yeah, it was a month's supply. Yeah.
And will you get a replacement for that?
No, I think.
Yeah.
I don't need to replace it. It's 500 quid's worth of medicine.
Jeez.
I want it back.
Yeah.
Simple as.
But I mean, in terms of the getting the, I mean, are you okay for stuff at the moment?
I have nothing at the moment. No, the only thing I have is I have one part. Yeah, prescription. All right. It's I have the CBD part of the prescription. That's legal here, and I have a good friend that supplies me with CBD, and
with the THC as well.
Yeah, it's like the two. You need entourage effect, CBD is good for preventing new pathways of forming to the tumor to feed it. But THC is the one that actually causes apoptosis. That means to the killing of cancer cells without affecting other healthy cells in the body. Whereas what the treatment they were offering me was chemotherapy. It just
kills everything.
It targets everything. Yeah.
Kenny, will you come on next week? Because I'd love to have a sort of longer chat with you and see if we can help you in some way. Would you like that? Would that be okay?
Yeah, sure. No bother at all. Yeah.
Yeah, because sorry, Johnny.
Yeah, just Kenny has a protest march on on Sunday that maybe it's a good time to plug, and maybe come on next week and tell us a little bit more about it.
Yeah, sorry, Kenny. We had Catherine Corliss on, and we had Vanessa Hudson, so it was quite a sort of packed show. There's a protest on Saturday. Is that right?
Sunday.
Sorry.
Yeah. It's at 3 o'clock. 3 o'clock at St. Peter's Church in Athlone, and we're going marching over as far as St. Mary's Square, and we will have people from People Before Profit will be there. Hopefully, Boxer Moore, Dennis Naughton, and Ming Flanagan, the man himself, has confirmed he's going to be there as well. So.
Okay.
Big crowd.
Okay.
Well, you definitely have to come back and tell us, did Dennis Naughton turn up?
Yeah.
Well, I told them all I have a team out taking names of TDs that's been invited and that don't show up, and I'm going to making that public. So, it's this is war. It's my life at stake, for God's sake. You know what I mean?
And you're not the only one, so.
Yeah, it's for everybody as well, and that's the reason why I'm not buying off the black market now. Is that there has to be legislation on it passed, for everybody. It's not just for me. Can benefit from it. You know what I mean?
But
the way it is at the minute, it's just it's unaccessible, and it's been made here in the country. There's a company licensed to make it, like, you know, to make my 10% THC prescription.
Oh,
you know, yeah, really, yeah.
And for you to get at that THC, you've got to go on the street now, and you know.
Yeah, which I don't want to do. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to. No.
Okay.
It's in the government's hands now. It's you know, I am making a stand at this now, and I won't fight. I won't stop. Like this march on Sunday is only the beginning of my journey. Vera has her journey fought, and she's still, you know, behind us all, like, and everything, like, you know. But my journey is just beginning, like, you know. There's this march on Sunday, then there's a meeting in the Longford town centre 8 o'clock on Tuesday. Gino Kenny will be there. Vera Toomey will be there. That one as well.
Oh, brilliant!
So we're expecting a big turnout of that. Like, so it's, and after that, you know, we're going to try and get it to a more local level. Like, you know, Longford saying yes is the new hashtag, and Athlone is saying yes now as well. Maybe Roscommon says yes will be the next one. You know, we'll see.
Well, they said no for the equality referendum, I heard it.
Yeah, but I want to live like the Roscommon people, like Kenny and Ming.
Kenny, we hope to see you next week if you're around. Love to have you on, and we'll discuss a bit more about everything. Okay, thanks so much.
Yeah, but can I just say as well, there in relation to Kenny, he's got like the spirit of what I was talking about with Alex, and Kenny would know of Alex as well. That community spirit that's really strong, and it's the same way in relation to what happened to women with the HSE this week. You know, everyone is going in the one direction, that we get equal rights and good medication, and it's people have risen up now, so this is a really positive thing. But Kenny also has he's doing a bit of fundraising. He's got an awful lot of friends, and he's a fantastic DJ, music producer, and he's combined with Robbie. That was a brilliant documentary you did, Kenny. Hola, Zaragoza.
Fantastic.
Fantastic templates. You put it up
from Zaragoza,
yeah. And you did an album as well, the best of Athlone. You did with Robbie from Skin Size Kings, a great band back in the day. So people can go out and get that. We need to plug this because this man needs fundraising. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I know, but Johnny, that's why I was suggesting that Kenny come back on next week when we have
and get that going and support him on Sunday. It's going to be a lovely
Johnny, Johnny and Kenny, I actually think the medicinal cannabis is a show on its own.
Yeah, probably.
Chipping in and out of it is not going to enhance the argument. It needs to be a dedicated one.
Yeah, well, Kenny, fantastic to see you. We hope to see you next week.
Okay, God bless.
See you Sunday, Kenny.
Bye,
Thanks
Kenny.
See you, Johnny.
Take care of yourself.
Thanks a lot, Kenny. Thank you very much. Thanks, Johnny. Can you turn off your mic, Johnny, just for a second? Yeah. Great. Sorry, papers. Tomorrow's paper.
Yeah, just give me a sec.
You got them? Oh, I'm in it. Sorry.
It's okay. It should be okay.
I just see the Examiner headline: door left open for public cancer inquiry.
My computer's just acting up.
Okay.
I know, it's such a dose, isn't it? It's just doing that, like, it's just old, I think, this laptop.
Luke, how are you? We weren't expecting you tonight, and you just...
Yeah, no, I didn't think I was going to be able to make it, and then I came in, and I saw numbers that were down. I saw the last bit of Neil's little bit of chat there, and then it was I thought I'd jump in while I could.
Yeah, well, it's been a sort of packed show. Great to see you, Vanessa. How are you?
I'm good.
How are things in the mosh pit?
It's really busy. I haven't been able to stay on top of it at all. But it seems that we're all going to Waterford anyway for the August bank holiday.
Brilliant.
We all together. Chaka Khan is there. Chaka Khan. Yeah, and there's reggae acts as well. So no, they seem to be. That's where we're going. August bank holiday.
Clampers outside. Lives down there. So.
Oh, Maybe it's him that plugged it. I don't know. But anyway, it's it looks good, and it's a really busy show. They're really on top of everybody that's contributing, and they're following it. And
was there any discussion about your news?
I haven't gone up that far. No,
okay.
I don't have news, John. Stop it.
Well, I mean, the situation.
I didn't win the lotto. Do you mind, John?
No. And have we lost Johnny there? Olga?
Hi, yeah. Can you see the papers?
Oh, we can.
The hearing or the sound is very bad. Is it just me or is something going on? No. Okay. Can you see the papers?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. So just on the right there, Rents Soar Far Beyond Tiger Peak by Michael Cogley. Rents are almost $3,000 a year, more expensive than they were at the Celtic Tiger Peak, a report suggests. The cost of renting nationwide has increased by 11.5% in the first 3 months of the year. This is the Daft quarterly report, so I presume it'll be out tomorrow. The average monthly rent was $1,261, an increase of $232 a month on its previous peak in 2018. There you go, more news on rent. The picture there is of, actually, no, I can't pronounce those names, from Zimbabwe at St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin, which they're hosting a concert for refugees on May 19th. There on the bottom, EU backs Ireland's threat to veto Brexit trade deal. Pressure rises on Theresa May over hard border problem. Ireland has the backing of European leaders to halt Brexit trade talks. Next month, if Theresa May, the British Prime Minister, fails to force through a customs pact that avoids a hard border with Northern Ireland. Then the Examiner, door left open for public cancer inquiry. So this is obviously in light of the Vicky Phelan story by Elaine Loughlin, Fiacre O'Connor and Juno McEnroe. So Harris works with patient groups on new accountability laws. So I guess they're probably trying to figure out, okay, what kind of inquiry they're going to have. But it's open to changing legislation to guarantee any investigation into cervical cancer screening is carried out in public. Yeah, because as we know, Vicky Phelan called for this morning, that she was demanding that any inquiry be held up in public. Because as we know, commissions of inquiry are held in private, and the other option then is the tribunal. So I suppose people are, there's questions about cost and all the rest in order to have something that in the public. But so they're just reporting, while the possibility of a full-blown tribunal to examine the failures in the system is still an option, it is more likely that legislation will now be changed to introduce a bespoke commission of inquiry to be held in public, as this would be the shorter option. So there you go. And there on the right it says 500 million inquiries. Tribunals and commissions of inquiry have cost the state up to 500 million to date.
Maternity staff training inadequate there, is it? Yeah,
so that's in light of the Portunkla Hospital there in Galway. So there was a report that came out today. So the story there maternity staff training inadequate, says scathing report. So story by Stephen Rogers. Inadequate staff's substandard skills and training, a lack of input from midwives, poor communication delays in intervening when issues arose during labour. These are just some of the deficiencies identified in a damning report on maternity services. So if you remember, there was between 2008 and 2014, 18 babies, of 18 babies, 6 died and 6 of medical issues of varying severity. So that was what that report was about. So,
okay.
And then rents growing 30 times faster than general inflation. That's obviously something that's according to the Daft report as well.
That's astonishing.
Yeah. So.
And Dan O'Brien tells us there's no bubble.
Well, yeah.
He's consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did that the last time as well. Oh, hang on. Bono, I would prefer.
Would people prefer I died broke on his tax battle and health scare?
If Bono's going to play the victim, I think we're all
who?
We're all rightly screwed.
Bono.
Oh, is he stuck? Is he?
No, he's saying that do people want me to be broke, to die broke?
Bono, we need a whip round for Bono. Hashtag.
There's no fear of him being broke.
Yeah, well.
So, just to say that on the left of the Daily Telegraph, I'm not sure if anyone else knows anything about it. I personally don't, but there just seems to be maybe a similar story.
No, it's it's
a cancer screening. No.
Yeah, it's strangely, weirdly similar, but it's not.
No, it's very different. That is where they missed loads of people that were supposed to get called and they weren't called for their screening, and some of those have.
So it wasn't about test results.
No, they just didn't get screened when they should have been.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Anything else in the?
That's quite a big. That headline there: rents growing 30 times faster than general inflation.
Yeah.
That's
it's out of control.
Yeah, I know they pulled up the public cancer inquiry and the maternity staff, but this rents growing 30 times faster is that's a big story as well.
No,
it's what did you think of? Sorry, John.
And then the places that they're renting are just like attics for 800 a month.
Like that'll destabilize the economy a lot quicker, and it'll be a lot harder to recover from.
Well, what did you say that the election will be called? The issue will be housing for some reason.
Oh yeah, no. The next we said this back in November, didn't we? That the issue would be housing and childcare costs. But I can't see an election happening now at all. I don't see they're going near them. Fianna Fáil won't pull the plug now. Fine Gael won't go near anybody at the moment.
Vanessa, can I ask, just in your line of work, sorry John to interrupt, but I was just going to ask, you think, or what did you think of the business of the homeless figures, where Eoin Murphy is defending, saying that these people are not homeless.
He's shoving them from one column to another. That goes on everywhere. They shovel figures around, whether it's trolleys or
I just thought
or absenteeism. Public sector absenteeism, another one that gets shuffled around, like the breath test. I wouldn't. First of all, it doesn't change the housing crisis. It doesn't change the fact that there is huge numbers of people who are actually homeless.
Yeah, but they're cooking the books, so
but they all do it, John.
Well, at the same time, isn't the main intention with that to try and confuse and sort of muddy the waters?
But you see, it's not to confuse us or muddy the waters with us. Okay, it's for them. They don't know what they're doing. They don't understand. If you look at those numbers that came out. Look at the number that's Dublin and the rest of the country.
Yeah.
I mean, Dublin is turning into Nairobi.
How do you mean?
Just huge numbers are coming into Dublin, and there's no accommodation.
Yeah.
Like I actually this time next year, let's look at those numbers and look at the percentage that's outside Dublin versus of the total, and I bet you it'll have moved. I bet you it'll be Dublin will be bigger again.
Okay, I'm sort of confused, but it's been a long night, and I just want to thank everybody. Olga Cronin from Broadsheet, thank you so much. Luke Brennan, I'm very sorry that we didn't get a chance to have a chat tonight. Proper.
Next time.
Chat.
You're not showing us any pictures.
Yeah, any etchings from this week?
Yeah, like very soon I'm going to have there's a like the painter group that I'm in. We've got a bit of an exhibition coming up in the middle of June, so I'm under pressure to get something together for that. So there'll have to be something in the next month. So it better be good.
Yeah, well, a group portrait of all of us, maybe, Okay. Johnny Keenan, Johnny.
And Jinx for that portrait, just as he's acting agent. Or
yeah, where is Jinx tonight?
Well, I'm in Drogheda, so he's in Kilkenny. Hi, Jinx.
Yeah. Johnny, are you going to stay in Drogheda tonight?
No, I'm with two boys, so I'm just going to head home and drop the lads off in Dublin. It was a great night. And Catherine Corliss, what a fantastic woman. And you talk about the change that's happening, lads. And the show resembles everyone is fighting for their rights. And we're there. So well done, great show. And
thanks, Johnny.
I'd love to hear Catch back again.
Johnny, I have some bad news about George. Is they're removing an ear.
They're changing his name. Just on the Chappet, they're changing his name to Vincent.
Vincent Van Waff.
Okay. Well, George is losing an ear, so we've hopefully we'll see from George. Neil's dog George. Jinx is okay though, howling away.
I think we should finish on a high leg. Jinx is okay. We'll look after George.
Yeah.
Get him to the vet, lads. Pet vet. He might be checking in. He might get this pet vet. George will be lovely dog.
Okay. Say hello to George and Jinx. We'll see Jinx next week. Vanessa, thank you very much for tonight. Celebrity accountant. And
night, everyone.
Thank you so much, and hopefully we'll see you on the site tomorrow or here next week.
John, who's sending you flowers?
Oh no, I got it for the sort of spring, and they're the broadsheet on the Telly color.
Okay. Yeah.
Alrighty. Okay. Good night. Thank you so much, and thanks.
Good night, everyone.
Thank you to Catherine
next week.
and to Kenny Tynan, and we'll have Kenny on next week just to sort of elaborate on what he said. Okay. Thanks.